Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here this morning. We will get started. Come on in, grab some coffee, some goodies. This is our second coffee with the principal. I am your principal, thank you, Dr. Sidhu. I do have to stand here just because it is recording. So for the parents that are online, welcome. I know we received some feedback in terms of the echo in here. So we'll try to work on that if we can. I apologize. So we'll see what we can do about that for future events. Okay, so let's jump right in. The agenda for today, I wanted to give you some updates. We have a lot going on. Do a quick recap of quarter one. And then I'm going to hand it over to Mrs. Granados. She is our school social worker, and she is here with us today with some very important information. Okay? Wow. So I couldn't get everything on the slide, and I did not want to make the PowerPoint 50 slides for you. But just to give you some updates, right? Homecoming dance. We sold 810 tickets. We had about, I was there the entire time. We waited until the last student gets picked up. It was so much fun. I think kids really had a great time. I know that the ASB director, Mrs. D'Addario, and the assistant director, Mr. Hoganson, would like feedback though. If there's something, the dress code, I know we had talked about that. It was a little confusing. So if there's anything that you would like to talk about, you can either comment now or just send me an email and I will make sure that we meet and talk about it. The positive is that there were no major issues at the dance. Sometimes we do have students that are there that we unfortunately have to send home for various reasons, but we did not have to do that. That is a true testament to just all the work that's put in and our students and parents. So thank you for that. Any questions or comments? Yes. They really are. The comment was about the cleanup and kind of just looking around that there wasn't a lot of trash left behind. When I first started, just a quick story, Mr. Santiago was here. Mr. Santiago was an assistant principal here. He's now the principal at Dale Middle School. And I would comment, oh my gosh, there's trash left here and there. He goes, you know what, go to so-and-so school. And you can compare what our school looks like and what their school looks like. So not to put anyone down, but just to state to our parents' testament that our students are responsible. They do their best in terms of picking up after themselves. And again, that's a true testament to you and everything that you put into to raising your children and our children. So thank you for that. College and Career Week has been going on this week. I have actually gone in and taught. I taught on Monday and Tuesday in different classrooms just because we had a sub. We are short subs. The students are amazing. They're funny. They're having fun with the lessons. I'm not sure if they necessarily talk about it. They may say it's boring. But I would go up to students, ask them, okay, what does your personality profile say? What are your interests? What does it say that your future career can be? So all week long, they've been working on what their interests are, their future jobs. Today, they're going to be focusing on colleges. So, and then Friday, we're going to take a break Thursday. Thursday is just a late start with no college and career lessons. And then Friday is a minimum day, and they'll do a reflection. The college and career fair is tomorrow at the Anaheim Convention Center from 5 to 8. I have a flyer here, I'll show you in just a second as a reminder. Quarter one ends on Friday. It is the minimum day. I put in the daily bulletin a reminder for the students, but we'll make sure to send out a reminder to the students and parents as well. The staff will be in attendance on Monday while the students are taking a break, hopefully. And we have a professional development day devoted to many things like school safety training, talking about curriculum, instruction, capstone, just planning and prepping for the end of this semester and then next semester. But we'll be working on Monday, but no students on Monday. And there is another parent learning walk next week from 8:30 to 12. Liliana and I already talked about how we need to provide food and drinks for our parents. So we are definitely going to do that because it is, a couple of hours that we spend together. We go and visit various classrooms. We talk about what we notice, what we see the students focusing on. It is a really great experience. So if you would like to be a part of that, just email or call Liliana and she will make sure that you get invited to that. PSAT, the counselors wanted me to remind you, PSAT is available for students to take at Kennedy on October 15th, 7:30 to about 12 o'clock. And then financial aid night, October 19th in the KPAC, the Kennedy Performing Arts Center at 6 p.m. And this will be shared with you, so can't take a picture, but you don't need to. We're definitely going to share this with you as well. Okay, a reminder, huge reminder for college and career fair. So Kennedy and all the other schools will have a table set up with flyers and information for our schools. But colleges will be there as well. Careers will be there. Okay, so each career, maybe pathway or company, will set up like Amazon or Google or whatever we have going on. They will be in attendance, and students, parents, community members can go around to these different groups and get information. For students, I'm sorry, it's a little blurry. For students that need to be picked up, we have a pickup location at Kennedy in the South Lot, starting at 4:30. And then the buses will come every 40 minutes. Every 40 minutes, the buses will be coming around to pick up students, drop them off to the Anaheim Convention Center. Then the last bus will leave and return to the same location. And you can see all the locations over here. Yes. Very good question. The college and career fair, the question was, is it just for students? It is for everyone, especially parents. If you really want to just dive in and get a view of colleges and different companies, organizations, what's out there for your future students, your children, please come attend the event. I've been every year, I have to go every year, but I like to go every year. It's one of the things that I really enjoy being a part of. Yes. Great question. So will the students be there just for 40 minutes and then they have to come back? Actually, they get to stay. So they get picked up by bus, or you can drop them off, or they can come with the parents. They stay. The total time is 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then they can leave and come back. So the event is from 5 to 8. You don't have to stay the entire time, but all the booths will be set up at 5 o'clock. We start at 5 o'clock. Yes. Okay. Great question. So is this for students that are, just going to university, or for any student? It's really any student. So that's a great question, because I want to make sure that everyone understands it's for every student that is curious, that is confused, that doesn't know what they want to do with their future. Come to the college and career fair, and they will get to see what's out there after high school. Miss Bennett is our lead counselor. She just wants to add something.
Yeah, so what happens is that they also have admission for like students for the summer year, our ROC program. So like wide variety of wide variety.
Sorry, Mrs. Bennett, I'm sorry to interrupt. Because we're on Zoom also, do you mind coming up here and using the mic because the audio is breaking up? Sorry about that. Mrs. Bennett is not only a lead counselor here, she's been with the district for quite some time. She also has 2 students, one graduated from Kennedy and one attends Kennedy right now. So I'm gonna have to, if you can stand right here, sorry.
Look great. So I'll just repeat what I said. The college and career fair is going on for a long time and it's improved every year. And so our point is to give students and families exposure of what's out there and the opportunities all the students have after high school. So it's military, it's culinary exhibitions, it's construction exhibitions, it's a lot of different things. And this is a great bonding time for you and your students to see what's out there and start up those conversations. And this is why we even open it up to our elementary school families, our junior high families, because these are great family conversations to start at an early age. So, anybody have any other questions? Yeah.
Are they gonna have homework tomorrow night? Are the teachers gonna be given homework for tomorrow night?
All the teachers are on board. This whole week has been College and Career Week. They know what's coming. We've been building up. We've been doing lessons every day to make sure our students are exploring, knowing what their strengths are. Really something that's changed. We didn't have that when I went to high school. So it's really kind of nice that the whole school is on board on the students' future. And so they all know they may still get homework. Yes, and school is still happening. So, and but they're also very on board with what's happening tomorrow. They're aware. Any other questions? Yes. Do you senior? Yeah. So there's a new legislation, and us as a district, we are requiring all families to apply for the FAFSA or the DREAM Act. And the reason is there's a lot of different factors. The financial aid, no matter where you're going, whether you're going to a four-year university, a community college, a trade school, we want everybody to apply. It's free. And this is where you can also, there's so much free money out there. It's not only loans, there's a lot of grants, and then the schools, many parents think that there is, they make too much money. And especially in this area, in my experience, a lot of families don't want to apply because they think they make too much money. That's not the case. There's schools, especially private schools, if you don't apply for the FAFSA, they don't know that you want money. So they won't even offer you scholarships. So it's really important every single student and parent applies for the FAFSA. And it's open now, it opened out October 1st. The deadline is March 2nd to qualify for any grants, which is free money. We do have a financial aid grant night October 19th at Kennedy. Highly recommended. This particular person is the Dean of Financial Aid at Cal State Long Beach, and he's been presenting to us for our students, Cyprus and Oxford, for the last 8 or 9 years. He's a great resource. Yes, and KPAC.
Go ahead. No, there will be the student buses. That's a good question. They don't start coming back right away. Let me look at I think the last bus, it says will leave at 8:15, but they'll start leaving, I think, around 7. But let me get clarification and make sure. But they at least stay for at least an hour or 2. Like they have to be there for at least an hour. I did have really quickly, the financial aid flyer. Okay, it's not cooperating, but I will send it, we'll make sure we send it out, it's already been sent out. Okay, really quickly, before I hand it over to Mrs. Granados, I just wanted to kind of recap and highlight that our students have been working really hard, whether it's from Inquire with our first choir show that we had. There's Coach Reed, he is a football coach, also a teacher, who is explaining the capstone project to the students. We have David and myself, I was trying to get the picture up there. I had a student actually practice drawing blood on me yesterday in class. She did a great job. She did a great job. She was so nervous, but you know, it just shows how prepared our students are becoming in their actual work. She wants to be a nurse or a physician's assistant, go into that field, and she actually drew my blood yesterday. She practiced. You can see a picture of coding. That is from our computer science class. Students were coding and building some type of product. It's a little bit above my understanding, but the kids know what they're doing. My next move, this picture right here, I know it's very small, but that's what students worked on yesterday. It's a website that shows them the different jobs that they're interested in, how much money they make, what kind of education they need or skills they need, etc. And then just really quickly, just some pictures of our Kennedy culture. I mean, our stand was full at the homecoming game. We had a fireworks show. And then I have a few pictures at the dance. Those are your students. If your students attended the dance, they were dancing, having a lot of fun. We have pictures of our band, Shamrock Regiment, performing. And then one last picture. That was at the dance again. We had a live band. We also had a DJ, students dancing, food truck, and then students getting henna on that. So super fun time for the kids. Okay, then we can look up here. I'm gonna hand it over. It's just a reminder, if you want to get involved, reach out to Liliana. Whoops, sorry. And then here we go. I'm gonna hand it over to Mrs. Granados so that she can talk about mental health and wellness.
Good morning, everyone. I am Maria Granados, and I am the school social worker here at County High School. I'm here Monday through Friday, so we're going to get started. I hope you're doing well this morning. So the objective of today's presentation is to introduce a little bit of what I do. Being a school social worker is very unique. We have school social workers here to go to school. So a little bit of my role is I support school counselors and school psychologists. A little bit of what that looks like is I support with individual group counseling and resources for our students and our families. So I'm kind of the buffer in between psychology and counseling when students have any social or emotional needs, any behavioral concerns that come up. And I'm the one that's able to have conversations with them and really find out and problem solve and provide some resources to ensure that they do well. We want them to be successful, have a good school year, semester, and of course, get to the finish line, which is graduation. Okay. I am also a licensed medical social worker. A little bit of what that means is I'm actually licensed as a mental health therapist in the state of California. So I'm able to provide professional recommendations as a mental health therapist to my students and families as well. My goal here is not to do long-term therapy and be everybody's therapist, but definitely to be able to do some recommendations professionally as a mental health therapist, do what's best for the student and the family. Okay. Today's presentation is, we're finishing first quarter. It is October, and we know it's been very busy. It's been a transition year for students and families because it's the first year kind of getting through COVID, and kind of being back in a routine of like daily, no more Zoom sessions, no more Zoom classes. So really the presentation today is really focusing on wellness as part of mental health, but really supporting the idea of how to have some facts, but also how to support your student, your child, when there's some stress, a little bit of foundational information on anxiety and depression, okay? As well as just some tips, some quick tips for parents to support the wellness and mental health of the student, okay, your child. So what is mental health? It's a big word. It is self-care, it is wellness, it is really just looking at the well-being of a person, how they think, how they feel, and how they act. So how is the child thinking? How are they feeling? How are they acting? How are they relating to school? How are they relating to others? How are they making choices? That really is part of mental health. Everybody thinks mental health is just therapy. That is not really the case. That is an area of support. But really mental health is just as important as physical health. It is an illness. So it is what the brain, how the brain reacts to how we're thinking, feeling, and making choices. Some of the most common mental illnesses that we see in teenagers are anxiety and depression. Unfortunately, post-pandemic, our students are suffering a lot more from challenges, dealing with stress, not being able to make certain choices the way we were able to think 2 years ago. Especially some of our early high school students, freshmen and sophomore years, we're seeing a lot of struggles coping with daily things that were easier for them to deal with in the past. So again, we're seeing a lot more anxiety and depression, sometimes together for a lot of teenagers. A little bit of stress. So what is stress? It's a big word. There's small stresses, which is, having a rough day. There was a fight with somebody that they had and they're coping with that. They missed an assignment, they had a bad grade. Those are kind of normal daily stressors. However, when we think of big stress is long-term ways of dealing with school. That's a big trigger for students, for your child. How to cope with assignments, tests, grades is a stress. As much as we don't want to think about it, it is a big stress for a lot of our teenagers. It's friendships. Having negative, not just negative friendships, but just having conflict sometimes with friendships. It happens for teenagers. So it's very common. Also, the big one that we're seeing is expectations of others. So what are their family members thinking of them? What are their friends thinking of them? But more importantly, what do they think of themselves? That's also a big stress. Some students have very high expectations for themselves. So that is also stress that they have to deal with and cope with on a daily. College is a big one. It's a positive thing. We want our students to go to college if that's part of your plan, but it is a big stressor for our juniors and seniors. That we need to learn how to cope with, how to access resources, how to make good choices to be on track for college. It is a stress. Balancing work and school responsibilities. So what does this look like is work outside of school. So whatever they have to do at home, what they have to do on the weekends. That's part of their adolescent work that they have to do. We work as adults, they do too. They have stuff outside of school. So balancing those responsibilities is a little bit, extracurricular activities is something that is work for them. And it's something that they need to cope with. And of course, social media. The influence of social media is definitely You know, keeping up with the trends of social media is very stressful for adolescents. So a little bit of what I want you to take out of this is there is something called toxic stress. And that really is where we see our mental health being impacted. And this is when it's a long-term challenge, long-term stress. So this could be something not just a bad grade, but it's having struggled with listening teachers in classroom system. It could be a breakup, a relationship breakup. That is a long-term stress for a child. It could also be moving, being into a school, and not being able to adapt and cope with the environment. It's considered a long-term challenge for a child. It also could just be dealing with the loss. There's been a lot of loss in our lives, just as a society. So, you know, losing that best friend, losing a grandma, you know, could be a stressor that they have to cope with. And that's what we consider a little bit more toxic stress. It's something that they haven't dealt with. And it's something when it impacts, you see the little visual there is your body, mind, emotions, and behavior. So it really is something that they're not just thinking about, but it's something that they're feeling, that they're not coping with. So that's super important. And toxic stress has to do with the brain. It's not just something that they deal with, you know, for children. You know, ongoing long-term stress and challenges really do impact the brain, especially in teenagers. The brain of a teenager is not developed to the age of about 25. So sometimes as parents, we want to have conversations and talk about choices as they were adults. They're learning, they're coping, their brain is still developing. So something to remember is I'm having a conversation with the child. Okay. And the adolescent brain is very special because it's wired, right? It's been trained to be a healthy adult, to make healthy choices, to have a plan for life. It's a lot of stress. That's a lot of wiring of the mind, body, and emotions. And then again, long-term stress leads to anxiety and depression, which is a little bit of what we'll cover with you guys today. So a little bit of stress, again, stress, you see some reactions. You see students that are having challenges with mind, body, and kind of how they're feeling. But signs of anxiety are a little bit more consistent. This is when your child is having frequent concerns or challenges, or they're telling you this, or the counselor's telling you, hey, your child's struggling with this. And this is a little bit more consistent. We're looking at patterns of about 2 weeks of some of these signs. So it's fear, worry, it's being irritable. You know, sometimes we think they're just moody. Yeah, being moody is part of being a teenager, but you gotta see, is this something 1 or 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Is this a pattern that we're seeing at home or at school? Trouble sleeping, that's a no bueno. Although I know teenagers are being influenced by social media a lot, and it's hard to talk a little bit about how you can help that. That is actually sleeping and eating is a big mark of like, okay, something's going on. Something's going on in the brain of my child. Okay, fatigue, having headaches, stomach aches, inability to concentrate. You know, that's when we see sometimes them not being able to perform in class. They get behind on work because it does impact the brain. Racing thoughts, you know, being restless, being antsy, and then hypervigilance. You know, it's some of the symptoms that we see. Okay, it started as stress, but now it's become a little bit more an anxiety concern. What does anxiety look like at school? This is a little bit more common for us to pick up on as parents, but it's having trouble concentrating in class, or not completing work. You know, feeling self-conscious and avoiding certain situations. There's a lot of social anxiety. A lot of our students are just avoiding big crowds, avoiding events, avoiding being in that class for whatever reason. So those are just big red flags for us to be aware of. The physical symptoms, the stomach aches. And it's not just the typical, I have an ache, but it's an ache every single period. It's an ache that's coming up every week. So you're hearing that, and it's something to really have a conversation with your teenager about. It's breathing, it's having a little bit of sweaty palms, you know, queasy stomach, some shaking. So some of those symptoms are not necessarily so longer stress, it's a little bit of anxiety. Missed class time, absence is a big trigger for anxiety at school. Okay, they're having a difficulty coping with something at school. More importantly, the catch here is I want to make sure that I message that anxiety is not taken care of. It is not, it's important to catch it off early. It really does impact the ability for a student to study and to have good, healthy relationships. They avoid work, they avoid certain situations. So it is super important to kind of just have those conversations. We have a school nurse, we have a school counselor, you guys know me. Have a conversation with the student. What's going on? I'm seeing some changes. This is a concern. This is not typical, especially your student, your child has been performing at a certain level, has been in a routine at a certain level. There's a change. You might want to make sure we get that checked. Depression at school. What's a little bit different than anxiety? It is a consistent feeling of feeling sad, of feeling hopeless, losing interest. So it's that student that was very social. Your child is very social, likes sports, and wants to quit sports, wants to quit an activity, no longer wants to have an interest in that certain class, like that was really interested in. So that's what it looks like in school. It really affects how they think, how they feel, and how they act. So you do see choices being impacted when the kids express. It really just impacts the emotional functioning, and then it creates physical problems for them as well. With depression, we also see a change in schoolwork and activities, as I mentioned before, also changes in relationships. We see them isolating more, not talking to the parent at home, not talking to the friend, or we see them also engage in more fights, conflicts, aggression. That's a sign of potentially a symptom of depression. And of course, we do see changes in a lot of, again, there's the grades and the information. We see some absences as well. Okay. Just a quick little glance on emotional science. Depression is really hard to see sometimes or understand it, but because there is behavioral and there's also emotional science. So it's important to see, sometimes they experience both, sometimes it's just more one than the other. And males and females, your children, your daughter, your son might appear a little bit different in a male than a female. So again, some emotional signs, sadness, frustration, anger, feeling hopeless. I don't see a future. I don't see myself graduating. I don't see myself getting to 18. That's hopelessness. It's again loss of interest in activities that we enjoy, social activities, family activities. It's feeling worthless, feeling guilty all the time about what they're doing. Difficulty concentrating in work, big tasks, and also with depression emotionally, sometimes the brain, when it's a lot to hold on, thoughts of death and suicide do come to mind with depression. Some behavioral signs that we usually are easier to see as parents and even here at school is when they're tired, when they're not sleeping. They're sleeping a little bit too much or a little bit, less than the usual. That's a sign. If it's a pattern, something to consider. What's going on? What's going on with my son's brain, with my daughter's brain? Changes in appetite, isolation. Again, school performance, absences. Not wanting to perform, not wanting to do good in school like they used to. That's a change. The change in appearance, and it's not just stress, but it's hygiene. Not wanting to shower. That's a kind of a big sign for a teenager. Not wanting to dress a certain way anymore. And acting out, making poor choices. Teenagers, again, adolescents, very there's a lot of change going on, but really poor choices. In that can look like using drugs, hanging out with the wrong crowd, not listening to rules or curfews. Some of those choices are behavior signs of something's going on, maybe a little bit of depression there. So some things that you guys can help your children with, your child at school and at home is coping skills. It's really just how to cope with stress, helping them early on how to cope with stress. And it really coping mechanisms or strategies that people often use to deal with stress. We use these all the time as well. It's also coping with emotions. difficult choices, things that are happening in life, but emotions. And we don't tend to talk about emotions a lot with our teenagers. We talk about choices, behavior, school, right? Home. But what about what's going on in your mind? What's going on in your heart? Okay? So it's helping them have those conversations and dealing with those emotions. And it's not about doing too much of that emotion. It's just, hey, you're feeling a little bit down this week. Maybe consider doing some meditation this week. Let's go for more walks this week. Okay? So it is important for us as parents to be able to help them adjust when we are noticing a little bit of stress in them, but also helping them adjust and deal and cope with the stress in their lives. The stress is always going to happen. We just don't want it to become long term. Okay, so some just quick little skills: deep breathing, mindfulness, meditation is great. Physical exercise, even if it's 30 minutes. Going for a walk. Music. I know it's hard for you to see your students all the time, your children with headphones, but music is a coping skill. It's something, it's a trend, but it's also a coping skill for them to be able to shut their brains a little bit. Okay? Talking to friends and therapy, counseling. If any of these are not working consistently, then it's something to consider for counseling resources that way. Okay. As parents, it's important to help them with the self-care routine. How to manage that. They're learning how to navigate, a workload of classes, of assignments, but we don't talk about this in health. It's healthy. How to stay healthy today? How to stay healthy for this month? It's a busy month. We have quarter grades, we have assignments, right? How do we have these conversations with our kids? So the basics, it really is going back to basics, parents. It's really focusing on movement, physical activity. Ask them, but as long as it's consistent. So it's that 20-minute walk every day, or it's that sport. Hey, you know what? You're exercising. You have a game, but you're exercising every day, or 2 to 3 times a week. That's healthy. That's a routine to manage something outside of school assignments, out of homework at home. And it really reduces endorphins. So it's really important to keep them active because, like I said, their brains are still developing. So they need to release those endorphins or chemicals that the brain needs that to be able to continue and adjust to stress. Especially knowing that the brain is very stimulated at this age. Okay? Stick to the routines. If they don't have a routine, and this is outside of school, we have a routine here at school. We have periods, we have a schedule, but help them establish a routine. What do you do outside? What does the weekend look like? Okay? And with the routine, I put 2 points here. It's really important to consider times to connect. Outside of, hey, I just picked you up from school. Hey, we're going on Saturday to a family event. Connect with them, or you can ask them, how is your mind today? What's been coming up for you this week? What are some choices you're getting into this week or today? So points of connection means have a routine for them to connect with you, but connect with peers, connect with teachers as well. Okay, not just busy do the work. And then also family meals. I don't know how many of you family meals, even if it's once or twice a week, but it's a point of a connection. Making sure they have that as a routine consistently for them. In the routine, obviously consider some activity and then also eating and sleeping. It's basics. When a student or child is going through a lot of stress, it really is making sure you keep them in basics and consistency. Sometimes we want to protect them as parents and we want them to stay at home. We want them to cut something off per day. Really, it is keeping them in a routine. It is helping them cope with it, with a little bit of support, a little bit of help. So really eating and sleeping is super important for adolescents. As I said, the brain is on fire. It's very overloaded. It's making a lot of decisions, thinking a lot of different things. So it's important to, as parents, to pay attention to snacking habits. Avoid junk food. Give them snacks. Check to see if they're eating it. Okay. Go through a 10-hour day and they're having a snack right before the meeting or the practice. So sleep. This is a very tough one because we tend to think, oh, they're sleeping less, they're fine, they're staying up. We know how school is, we know it's busy, but stick a routine. So non-negotiable, you're going to go to bed by 10:30. Okay. Give them some choices before that, but really sleep is super important. And You might be surprised that the average amount of sleep a teenager should be getting is almost 9.5 hours of sleep. I know most of them are not. They actually need more sleep than we do as adults. Again, there's a lot of activity going on that night. So that's really one of the biggest things as parents need to do is really help them stick to basics. And they will forget. Life is busy for them. And with teenagers, they think very short term. They're not thinking, how is my brain going to be healthy when I graduate out of college? You know, they're thinking, I need to survive. I need to get through the semester. I need to get through the school year. So as parents, we can definitely support them to be able to have a healthy routine day. Okay. So in that, transitioning to that, how can we continue caring for a child, for your children's health? Okay. Increase communication without judgment. Sometimes you don't have to say anything. You just have to just sit still, you know, pat them on the shoulder, give them a hug. I heard you. Doesn't mean I agree with you, but I heard you, right? Just validate, hear them out. It's tough. I'm not sitting in the shoes. I don't sit. I don't even know what it is to sit in 6, 7 periods anymore. I know, I did that then. So validate, hear them out. What's going on? What's going on with that class? What's going on with that teacher? What's going on with that peer? Okay, the friend. So that's very important, is to provide support. Sometimes it's just being present and making those moments of time to connect. The feelings, again, we always look at what they're thinking or what they're doing, but what's going on with how you're feeling today? How did that wonderful day look like for you? How did you feel having this great project turned in? You know, let's talk about some of those experiences that they're doing in school. Okay, but how are they feeling? How did that make you feel? The good and the bad. Feelings have good and bad feelings, and they're all okay. So creating some opportunities for you to process and talk about these feelings. And of course, encourage them to be involved. Okay, we want them to be again in a routine and involved. So, and it's good for consistency. So it is that class. It is if you swim outside of school. You know, it is maybe a sport on campus, okay? But making sure that they are socially involved and active, that is super important for them to really be able to have a good well-being. Okay. And this is really hard for us to do as parents, right? But let's model it. So I'm not going to tell you to go to bed at 10 o'clock, but I'm up every day at 12 o'clock on my phone. Or, you know what, I'm always very stressed, and I don't deal, mom doesn't deal with stress. So try your best to do some of these activities with them and show them. So we do that. We're humans. We're adults. We're humans. So try to do your best way to do that. So you know what? I'm having a heavier week. Let me do that. I need that all. And I do that sometimes even when I do counseling here on campus. I'm like, you know what? You're having a rough day. So am I. Let's take a walk together and talk it out on campus. So you got to model for that and be able to say, yes, this is okay. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to think this way. And then the biggest one that I wanted to emphasize is please, please, please try to communicate between home, you as parents, and us at school. We have fantastic communication. We have fantastic resources here. Our teachers are very caring. So please develop a system. If you see there's changes, you see that your child is off, again, sleep, eating, they're not making some good choices. You're worried about them being more angry or more sad, please reach out to say, hey, you know, this is what's going on. How is the attendance going? How's schoolwork going? So develop that with, again, with the council, but more importantly with the teachers. Please reach out and be able to share information about what you're seeing at home too, because that does impact. We're not different. We make different choices at school and at home, but we're the same person. Okay, so if you see some things that are off at home, please communicate. And again, the way I see it to my parents is, if you're seeing changes more than a week, 2 weeks, that's a little bit more concerning. We all have off days. We all have different days. That's okay. But it's when you're seeing something for about 2 weeks, a pattern, please communicate with us and we're here to support you guys. Okay? And if you notice something more long-term, you know, it's a month of your child crying for no reason. You know, and then the grades are dropping. And, or they're more anxious. You see them that they're complaining more about their study days. Okay, and it's been more than 2 to 3 weeks, and you're seeing changes in their work. You're seeing changes at home. please consider definitely reaching out to myself and my contact at the end of this presentation for a school counselor, and we will make sure we ensure we have some conversations and really assess what's going on, evaluate what's going on to see if we need to make some medical recommendations. Sometimes it is seeing a doctor, sometimes it is seeing an outside therapist, and that's okay. And it's temporary. It's not, doesn't mean that they're going to be doing this for long term. We want to make sure we get them back to a regular, stable place, so they're able to continue being a successful student on our campus. Okay. So take care of yourselves, take care of them. And that's it for today. So I don't know if you have any questions, but I definitely have here. It was a little bit brief. We hope to plan other presentations with more topics in the future this school year, but we wanted to make sure we gave you some skills and remind you that right now in October, November, our students go through a lot of stress. And you might not see it, you might feel it, but you might not see it all the time. And it comes out how they react, how they make choices. So please, if you have a concern, if you have something that's going on with your child and you want to talk to us, reach out to the counselor, and you're welcome to reach out to me. We work as a really good team, so I'll make sure to connect with the counselor as well. So there goes my number, and I'm here Monday through Friday, and my extension is 27948. Okay. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys do something today. One thing to take care of yourself on that list. Thank you.
Do want to open it up if anyone does have any questions. We have some time. We really wanted to cover this information today, just because it's a good time to stop, reflect, check in with your students, see how they're doing. And again, I think the most important takeaway for me was we all have off days, we all have stress, that's a part of life. But when you see those changes longer term, that is probably a good signal for you to, maybe dig a little bit deeper into that. So does anyone have any questions? And for the people on the Zoom, our parents in the audience are asking questions, but they don't have a mic. So you'll hear a pause, and then on the microphone, we can repeat the question. So just to put that out there. Anyone in here have a question?
I will repeat the question. So the question is that, even if there's a student or child, and just in general teenagers that maintain their grades, they're doing okay. There's a concern that maybe they keep to themselves a little bit, like their circles with friends, but they're still maintaining grades, they're doing well, performing well. Can that be a concern? Absolutely. And it's kind of where those conversations come in, create communication. And the reason why is part of that is what we call this mental health internalized. So some adolescents externalize, which is when we see things, and you internalize when you keep everything inside. So it stays here and it stays here. So they might be going through a lot of the same emotions and thinking thoughts as other students that are showing signs in the classroom or at school at home, but they keep it to themselves. And it is for normal adolescents to be able to stay quiet, be more isolated, or vice versa, be more social. Every teenager is very different, but it is something that you want to check. Even if they're performing well, I have a couple of students that are fantastically doing great. I'm just like impressed on how they're performing, but they're struggling. And they just don't know who to start with. And they don't know that it's safe to talk about that. And I'm okay, I'm over these stress. And it's becoming more anxiety, but they don't know how to really start that conversation. They don't know, and it's just the way sometimes each adolescent is just how they're genetically, it's their personalities, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't stay with them. Again, it's a brain, right? So it's keeping it all together. So you definitely want to be aware of that. I don't necessarily know if it's a full-time concern, but it definitely would be something to say, hey, let me check in, or hey, you know what, I suggest you just check in with your counselor. You're doing well, but you know, you've been very quiet for the last month. They do not, but your job is to still do it. There's a lot of stuff we don't like, right? Even as adults, we want to teach them that it's healthy to talk about it. We want to encourage it. And if not, make the phone call. Hey, counselor, I'm noticing this, that, you know, we're here to support. But you want to engage in that conversation. But yes, there is, some of that is part of normal development. Some of that is sometimes, it doesn't hurt to really talk and have those conversations because you don't know what's going on. And again, we see what they do, they're doing well, but we don't know how they're thinking, how they're thinking.
I have 5 boys and I'm on number 5 here. And, why is it that they forget how to talk? I mean, they can't communicate any longer with adults, starting about junior year. Freshman, sophomore, they're doing all right. You know, you get conversations going. But man, get that junior year, and it's like they don't know how to talk.
And that's a great question. So, has 5 boys and was saying, the question is, why do they stop talking around junior, senior year? And we start seeing some of those changes in middle school, usually 8th grade, 9th grade, where it's harder for me. How do we get them to talk? And that's part of the struggle, is that it is hard. This is why we're on campus. We're trained to kind of talk to students differently and be able to engage with them differently. And it is normal for them to shut down. It is normal to be like, you don't get me. I'm not going to go there. And to be honest, they don't want to talk about how they're thinking and their feeling. But if we need to create those opportunities, and I think our teachers do a really good job on campus to observe things that are different and to find opportunities in between passing periods or after school saying, hey, I've noticed this, you know. So the way I see this is just try to engage them. Definitely, I will probably consider maybe a different presentation on communication and how to really deal with adolescents, a little bit separate. It's a bigger topic, but it is normal for them to shut down that owner, but there is ways for you to negotiate, for you to grow a little bit different on information, gather information, see how they're doing. You might not like what I'm telling you, but they do. There's ways to open up with them. It is a lot more work for us as parents, to be honest, than for them. Good question. There are any questions?
Thank you. We're going to stick around a little bit though, so feel free to come up, you know, one at a time if you want to just engage or you have some quick questions. We're going to hang out in here. I'll turn the lights back on so we can just hang out. And feel free to, you know, grab something as well on your way out. I really, again, appreciate your time coming in today. Okay. You know, just coming in, spending time with us, listening to us, asking those great questions. We're here to work together as a community and as a team. We have to, right? It takes a village. I repeat that almost every day because it does. It really does. But we love being here. We love our kids, and we're here to support you. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. And we will send out those flyers. We have some questions about the financial aid flyers. Send that out. I'll get back to you about the buses too, because that was a good question when the buses start coming back from the college and career fair. So anything else, we're here to help and we'll stick around. Okay? Yeah.
If you have a topic of interest, please communicate with Ms. Guzman. She can communicate that. Sometimes I bring outside presenters too. Definitely, point taken at communication, how to communicate with my teenager. That's a full topic, a full hour that we can spend together. There's a lot of great tips. We could probably consider that later in the year as well to do that for you. But if you have any interest in special topics and then we get enough, you know, participants, we could definitely consider that and do that for you.